Let's talk about breath control. I kind of want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. I want to hear about some of the struggles you guys have had, concerns you've had. Um, I'd like to hear from you guys for a little bit, and then I can chime in and talk in a little bit. Okay, so nothing.
Okay, well, like, for me, I've always had problem with my breathing, and so it's a lot of just, like, I get panicky and my throat closes up, and so it's just kind of, like, making sure I can stay relaxed and breathing during my whole race.
Yeah. Does anyone else have that going on where they get stressed out or unrelaxed, I guess, as races go on, or maybe even
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom.
So what does anyone here consider themselves good at being underwater? Nobody? Man. I'll tell you what,
I feel like,
wait, what was that?
I feel like when my heart rate's lower, like in a longer race, I do a good job like controlling my heart rate. So then I have like a more controlled breath. But like in a shorter race, like a 200 or a 100, like I like tend to like get jacked up in like the first 100, and like I have like shortness of breath at the end.
Mm-hmm. How many of you guys feel comfortable in the water when you're playing? As in, you're just playing, having fun. You're not wearing goggles, maybe. Maybe you're at the ocean and you're looking at the stuff on the ground. How many of you guys feel comfortable just playing in the water and being able to hold your breath for long, extended periods of time?
Me.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys feel uncomfortable when you're holding your breaths in the water? Like even when you're just out there relaxing, that it's stressful for you?
Yeah.
After a while, it gets stressful, but like that's after a long time.
What's a long time?
I'm not exactly sure. Just like when you're under for a while, if you're like trapped underneath like waves and stuff, then it gets stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're just playing with friends, then it's not.
How many of you guys have done the thing where when you drive through a tunnel, you got to hold your breath through the tunnel, like you've driven on like a tunnel in a mountain or anything like that? Have you guys done that before?
Never done that.
Yeah, I've done that.
No.
I used to do it like all the time.
Where were you at when that was going on? Where are there tunnels at?
I think in San Francisco there were a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah.
What about any of you guys ever hold your breaths when you go past graveyards? I'm sorry, cemeteries.
Huh?
We used to have this thing when we were little. We'd hold our breath when we go past a cemetery, and then we weren't allowed to breathe again until you passed a white house. I don't know. We just did it.
Oh, I literally, I read about that in a myth book.
It's not a myth. We did it.
No, but like that you won't actually get hurt by ghosts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we used to just hold our breath for fun like that. I never. We just had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so when I was growing up, I was a pool rat. I just spent all my summers at the pool. I spent all my time at the pool, and I did really stupid things. Like I found my fun was underwater. You know, I just loved being underwater. And on rainy days, my mom worked at a pool, and so on rainy days we'd have to be there anyway. And I'd be the only one in, and so I would just go sit underneath the ladders to get in and out of the pool, and I would like pin myself underneath them, just kind of lock myself in, and just hang out there for 2-3 minutes and just sit there, come back up, get a breath, go underwater, just sit there, look around, look at all the crap floating on the bottom of the pool. But I just liked being underwater. It was fun. My favorite movies growing up were movies usually had to do with water. Enjoyed a nice movie called The Big Blue. In Europe, it's called Le Grand Bleu. It was about a free diving guy Guy was pretty good looking in the movie too. With a man crush on him then. He didn't age well. Didn't age well at all. But anyways, my wife hated that movie, so I've only seen it once since I've been married. So anyways, those types of things were, the thought was I was basically a dolphin. I was a fish. I lived in the water. And so I've always been comfortable underwater. I'd like to say I was one of the early adopters for underwater dolphin kicking. Back in the early 90s and mid 90s, I was doing my races underwater. When I was in college, I would do the 400 IM, or the first 300 yards of the 400 IM short course. I went 12 and a half to 15 off every single wall for 300. And that didn't bode well for my freestyle legs. So I would not encourage you guys to do that. But I used to just live underwater. And so, but the thing was, is I was comfortable with it. And I want to get you guys comfortable with it. To be real honest, the absolute worst place to train breath training is the water. Holding your breath and doing 25s in no air does a couple things. One, it's dangerous and it doesn't help very much. I mean, it can help with your confidence, but the reality is you're not training yourself to have stronger lungs. And you're not really training a whole lot of tolerance to what's going on in your body. The confidence, that is a big deal. You need to have that. But you need to have the confidence on dry land first. You need to have confidence in a really safe environment. Some of you guys are in your rooms. Again, Cassidy, she's hanging out in the savannah with a giraffe and maybe some lions. So if I had her, I'd be a little nervous. But the best place to do breath control training is laying in your bed. And what you're trying to do is you're actually trying to teach your body how to tolerate carbon dioxide. I'm going to try to screen share some stuff. Let's see if I can get it to work, but I'll keep talking as I go here. The idea that you're running out of oxygen is kind of like a swimmer's myth. It's just a myth that swimmers talk about. You know, like, I'm running out of air. I need more oxygen. You don't really need more oxygen. What you need to do is you need to develop a tolerance to carbon dioxide. You're not going to run out of oxygen really, but you can not overdose, but you can sort of have a reaction to too much CO2. Does anyone know what the world record is for longest breath hold? Somebody check that. You guys are all quick at it. Someone check it and let me know.
I don't know.
I think it's something like 24 minutes or something.
Will someone
Like
Google it?
22 minutes, 22 seconds.
22 minutes, 22 seconds. All right, now I've done, is that with an O2 boost at the front end, or is that without? Because there's two different holds.
Yeah, that was with O2. Without is 19 minutes, 30 seconds.
Now that's pretty long. That's longer than I've ever held. I've done, I used to regularly do 4 and 5 minutes, and just for fun, because I enjoyed doing it. I'd be watching a movie or doing something, I'm like, I'm gonna hold my breath. And then 45 minutes later, okay, I gotta breathe again. I didn't pass out. So the thing is if I tried to do that right now, I'd probably crap out somewhere around 1 minute and 40 seconds, where all of a sudden I would start having that feeling in my throat where it starts to spasm and you just feel like your neck's going to collapse on you. How many of you guys have had that before?
Yeah, yeah.
Probably a bunch. So what that is, when you feel that, what that is a buildup of carbon dioxide. And I want to train you guys. I'll give you guys an opportunity today to sort of learn. I want to give you guys 3 methods to do training to get rid of that feeling. Because usually, I think it was Maya at the beginning that was saying that when she, gets underwater and it starts to get tight, it could be asthma in there, but it also could be that, especially at the end of a race when you come off that wall and you do one kick and you're ready to just get up and go, not because you want to race, but because you want to breathe. And you can get rid of that feeling in your throat. That way you have the confidence to just drive those dolphin kicks underwater. And then it's kind of no factor. It's just not a big deal for you. But again, the first thing is just realizing that it's just all you're doing is training your body how to handle carbon dioxide. So let's go through, I want to go through a few ways to do that. So if you want to take notes, that's fine. Like I said, I'm going to give you 3 methods to do this training. I want you to do it at home. Do it a lot. You get really good at this at home, you can kill it in a pool. Always do this, and I'm going to give you the disclaimers. Do this kind of stuff in a safe place. If you've got a medical issue, don't stress something out. Pass out and fall down some stairs. But it does involve holding your breath. But none of it's in a pool. So the first thing is learning how long can you hold your breath. So we're not training here, we're just learning here. First, we're just learning, what does my body do? And the way I like to do this is, and I've actually had a couple of you guys do this, but one of the ways to do this is with a book. Okay? So you do this at night, when you're laying in bed or when you're bored sitting around in the next 2 weeks when you have nothing to do. And I got my book right here. I'm just going to start reading the book. All right? I'm going to start on chapter 26, and I'm just going to go through. I'm going to hold my breath. And I'm just going to read this book. All right? I'm going to keep going and keep going and keep going until I can't read it, until I need a breath. When I need a breath, I'm going to mark into that book, this is how far I made it today. I'm going to mark it. Then I'm done. Right? Maybe I do it in the morning, maybe I do it in the afternoon, maybe I do it at night. You can do it as many times as you want during the day. But what you'll see is as you're going, that line's going to get further and further down the book. You're going to get further and further. You might get to where you're turning pages, and you can start reading here and here and here. And what's happening is you're getting that, you're not thinking about it. Eventually you're just reading. And it's not about, am I holding my breath or not? So that's one way just to kind of start the process. You do that a few days in a row, and you're already going to find yourself holding your breath for about a minute. Some of you 3.5 minutes, maybe even. But start learning how long that is. And it's okay to have a stopwatch running. I mean, I got an iPad right here, and I can just click start when I start reading, just so I know how long it is. Does that make sense, guys? Of course. Okay, there we go. So one of the things I also encourage eventually is to do this kind of thing with music. You can do the same thing with music. And honestly, I like something that's either very aquatic sounding, that makes you think of the ocean, or something that's just jacked up and fired up that you might be thinking about when you're racing. And the only reason I would say that is if you can have like a beat or just even a line of a song, it just takes 4 seconds. You like the intro lyrics, you like the chorus, the verse, whatever it is, you just kind of get that going for 3 or 4 seconds in your head. When you come off a wall, you can sing that song, you can get those lyrics in your head, you can do those things, and you're in a place where you're comfortable holding your breath at that point. And it's second nature. And yeah, when the song comes on, I hold my breath. And so when you come off that last wall of the 200 freestyle, you need 4.8 seconds underwater, because it's going to be 4.8 seconds. That's going to get you your jump plus your 70 kicks before your breakout. You just go through that song, you hit that song, you pound those legs. By the time that song's over, or that little 4-second verse, your underwaters are done and you're already at the 15-meter mark. If you're getting at the 15-meter mark in 4.8, you probably have the blocks. So maybe mid 12 and a half. So anyways, that's the first step, is going with a book. And you just do it in bed, mark it, do it a couple times. You can do it sitting in a chair. You don't have to be in bed. So that's step 1. Step number 2 is, if you want to advance it, be careful, don't pass out, but you do the exact same thing standing up. And what's the reason that we would want to stand up? You guys chime in. I've been yapping the whole time.
So if you faint, you hit the ground hard.
Your body uses more energy and more oxygen to stand.
Blood flow.
Yes, both are, those are both right. Your body's using more energy if you stand, and if you pass out, you hit, from further away and moving faster. So thank you, Lucius, on that one. But yeah, so just the act of standing alone is going to make you have to work. So when you're laying down, your body's doing nothing. The best time to really go for max breath holds is when you first wake up in the morning. Your resting heart rate's for you guys probably down in the low 40s. And you just wake up in the morning, you just hold that breath right off the bat, and you might be able to pop out, 3.5, 4.5 minutes right away. But yeah, if you're standing up, all of a sudden you burn a little more energy. But you do the same thing. You stand up, you get your book out, and can I read standing? Can I get to the same point that I used to be? If you can do that, great. If you can't quite do that yet, then you work yourself back up to that point. And guys, this is the most basic way. This is like the most rudimentary way to get better in figuring out what your breath hold is. If you really want to ramp it up to the next level, what do? You pick a spot in your yard where, of course, you got grass, and you do your breath hold with a little bit of walking in it. Exact same reason. Now, when you do a walking one, you're not trying to max out. You're not out there saying, all right, hey, I think I'm going to hit 5 minutes on this one. And, all of a sudden your neighbors are wondering why you're sleeping in your yard. They think that you had a party the night before. I said, no, hold my breath. I did that on purpose. So the breath holding, if you ever do that when you're walking, it's definitely not for a maximum breath hold. It's for just to hold it using more muscular energy, because now you're using your legs a bit more, your torso, your core, your arms, everything's happening. And so you can do that standing. You would not be doing that reading a book, by the way. You'll bump into things. All right, you could do that listening to music, though. So if you've got those headphones in, you could hit some music. So that is, and I'm going to give you guys 3 things. That is I'll probably give you more than 3. But that's the first most fundamental. You do that for a few days, and then by the end of that, I would want to know what your breath hold max is, or you would want to know. So you may start out at 45 seconds, but at the end of 3 or 4 days, like our goals, 1 minute and 45 seconds is kind of the max right now. That is your first step. Please don't try to do step 2 before you've done step 1. Step 1 is learning what your maximum really is. All right, so questions, thoughts, comments. What do you guys got? I'm going to hit the next phase in just a minute, but I want to let you guys talk for a minute if you want. This is a chance for you guys to be social too. Lucius, thank you for throwing in the humor. But what do you guys got?
How many times a day can you do this, or should you do this? Once? Or
as many as you want. There's not a prescription. There's not a guideline or recommendation. It's really the breath hold, the carbon dioxide tolerance. I don't even like calling it breath holding. I like to call it just CO2 tolerance. The curve on that is steep. You get better and better and better and better quickly. You can go from 45 seconds to 245 in a few days just by getting comfortable with it. And it's again, so if you do it every hour on the hour, go for it. If you're sitting there watching a movie and you're just bored out of your mind, do it a ton. But then again, why are you watching that movie? Get a different movie for you. So, yeah, what else you guys got? So that's the basic. Yeah, go for it.
How is like the breathing stuff going to affect our underwaters? Or like, is it going to help us hold our breath? Or?
Yeah, so the way it helps your underwaters the most is it creates confidence. The breath holding helps you be confident to continue to hold your breath when your body's under stress. When you watch on deck, when you're on the pool deck and you're watching swimmers swim, you can tell really quickly that, especially once practice is going, you're breathing hard, that when the swimmers come off their turns, they're up before the flags even pop up. And, one of the first things I teach in swim lessons is how to streamline 5 yards and just be able to glide 15 feet. And I can sit there and I can watch Stingray young kids, I can watch Stingray seniors, I can watch Team Elite swimmers pop up before the flags because they're getting tired. And tired itself doesn't mean you need to come up and get that breath. Most people are coming up for that breath because the panic is starting to set in, and that the buildup of CO2 is real. I mean, it's happening. When you're exercising hard, that CO2 wants out. Your body wants to get rid of it. So the learning how to handle CO2 and breath hold helps you be comfortable when you're in stressful situations at the end of races, when you're in practices, when a coach may be saying, I need you to hold 7 dolphin kicks off every wall. And on the first wall, you're like, this is a piece of cake. But by the time you get to wall 3, 2 kicks are kicking your butt. And that's not because you can't do it. It's because your body wants you to get rid of that feeling. Your body wants to get that CO2 out. And I mean, as I say, it's a poisonous gas, but then again, I guess I'm not really sure if it's, if you just straight up breathe CO2, you're kind of screwed. You need that oxygen in there. So, does that make sense why it helps underwaters? I'll take it. All right.
Before we move on, just so when we're doing the breath hold, do you want us to stop the clock before we exhale, or can we exhale and keep on going until we need to inhale again?
All right, so when you would do a breath hold for a time, you would want to keep going until and that's an excellent question. You would want to keep going until you inhaled again.
Okay.
And this is a little trick for some of you guys when you are in the pool and you're dealing with being underwater and you're starting to feel pretty taxed in terms of your breath holding. Is if I'm holding my breath, first off, relax. Don't be tense. But if I'm holding my breath and I know I've only got 10 yards to go, I might be holding it. If I release, slowly release, it releases some pressure, it releases the feeling, and you go a little further. You can go a little further. You can go a little further. It releases the stress, it releases the pressure, and it lets you keep going. So blowing bubbles if you're underwater, or if you're doing breath holds on your own for time and you're trying to go for your length of time on it. You start it when you hit the mat when you're in, and then you finish it when you go in on the next time. Okay? So excellent question. You can easily find another 20, 30 seconds, maybe a minute by some slow releases. I've gotten through many tunnels when we were driving through Virginia and places like that with a little exhale. It adds time. And it's not safe to do when you're driving, but we definitely did that when we were driving. Don't encourage that. It's bad to do. Don't do it. All right, so let's talk about how to make big gains. So we just talked about how to do the little gains or to get the baseline. The big gains, we're talking, if you guys do this for 3 to 4 weeks, there's pretty much everyone in this group would be able to hold their breath for 4 to 5 minutes without an issue by the end of your house-wide quarantines, okay? You can have humongous, step-ups with what I'm gonna have you guys do next, or encourage you guys if you want to do it next. And that's some breath work step training. And step training is pretty simple. It is, after you got your baseline, let's just say my baseline is 3 minutes. And because I can hold my breath for 3 minutes now, I've been doing this stuff for a week. My max out is 3 minutes. That's my max. It's not my comfortable, that's my max. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do about 8 sets of breath holds that are gonna go back to back to back breath holds. And hold on, let me see if I can try to draw these things up on the screen. But if I do, if I've got a 3 minute let's see if I can get this to work. If I've got a 3-minute breath hold max right now, can you guys see that? Hey, someone's drawing on there. Stop it. If I've got a 3-minute breath hold, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold. That's my max. You guys can draw on there. Just don't get too distracted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop that. Who put that 23 on there? I'm not that good. All right, so I've got a 3-minute max. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do about 8 sets. All right, maybe I'll do 6 sets. I need to get like a pen so I can write. Where I'm going to do 1 minute and 30 seconds of breath hold. All right, I'm going to do a minute and 30 hold. An age, that's where it's an age. All right, and then I'm going to take a minute and 30 rest. That's on set number 1. After I finish that, as soon as I finish this one time, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to repeat this, but now I'm only going to do a minute and 20 rest. All right. As soon as I finish that minute and 20 rest, I go right into a minute and 30 again, and I'm going to do a minute and 10. And then I'm going to do it again, and then go a minute. All right. I'll do it again, and I'm going to go down to 50 seconds rest. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go down to 40 seconds rest. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go down to only 30 seconds rest. All right. So each time I do this, first round, hold it for a minute and 30. If I'm a 3-minute breath hold guy, a minute and 30 is no factor. It's no big deal. I take a minute and 30, just regular breathing, and then I do a minute and 30 again over here. I get a minute and 20, minute and 30, minute and 10. All right. I keep doing it. By the time I get down to just 30 seconds rest here, all right, the carbon dioxide in my system is going to be building up exponentially. So when I'm here, you know, my CO2 level, we're going to say when I finish this, it's going to be at like a 10. When I get a minute and 20 rest, my CO2 level may be 15. You know, when I get here, it may be 20. When I get here, it may start really getting on, maybe it's around 30. You know, when I get lower and lower on my amount of rest, my body doesn't have time to recover. So I may be completely maxed out and just dying by the time I get to this 7th set, so that when I'm going into my last set of 130, you know, that 130 may really, really suck. And that's all based off of your own personal max breath hold. Thing is this, if you do that for a week, if you do that step training that I just showed you on that whiteboard for even 4 days in a row, your 3-minute breath hold is probably a 4-minute breath hold by the end of 4 days. So you would want to retest after just a few days, because especially if you start out low where you're like, hey, minute's all I got. That's fine, minute's all you got. After 4 days of doing that step test, step training, you might be at 2 minutes immediately in there. And then you got to then you have to readjust, because it's, what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for about 50% of your max is how long you get to recover. So if your breath hold max is 1 minute, you only get 30 seconds of recovery. You should be reducing your rest by about 10% each time. Right? So the longer you can hold, the bigger gaps you're going to have in that. But if you can hold your breath for, you know, long periods of time, you're going to get more rest in between initially. But eventually, it'll, you know, after 8 rounds, you're still going to be down really low amounts of rest. And yeah, so give me some questions. Give me your thoughts. I kind of rambled through that. I want to hear you guys' feedback and what you think and where I confused you.
How fast should we be going from the initial, like, sitting down and holding your breath and finding your max to the set holding breath stuff?
I mean, the reality is if you can do it right away. I mean, if on day 1 your max is a minute, be like, all right, I'm just going to go give it a try. You know, and just try it, just so you're teaching your body how to handle the process of going through that. And, you know, after 1 day, you might be like, that was so easy. And then you retest and go, shoot, I'm actually 2 minutes. But I would do it almost immediately in terms of getting your max and then going into the trainings.
Right.
What else you guys got? Give me some more.
Do you have to like keep training with this breath work, or like are you gonna lose it if you stop doing it for a while?
Yes and no. It's a yes and no one on that. Yes, you will lose it. Like right now, if I tried to do a 5-minute breath hold, I wouldn't do it. You guys would see me laying on the ground, or you just hear me hit the ground, and you'd all have a good time with that. But it would come back to me really quick if I just got back into it. It would only take me, a few days to get back to where I used to be at. Now, here's the thing: is breath holding and carbon dioxide tolerance, it is impacted by your fitness level. So if you're in really good shape, you're better off than if you're really out of shape. So that does help. So the fact that I'm not nearly in the shape I was back when I used to do all this kind of stuff when I was in college and high school, it definitely impacts my ability to catch back up to that. I don't want to get into all the science of that, but so yeah, it does come back pretty quick, but you will lose it. What you don't want to do is be on it for, just 2 or 3 weeks, and then as soon as you started swimming, stop doing it. What would be the best would be is to get to where it's just sort of a way of life that you're comfortable, and then maybe when you start doing this, you have the confidence, and then you start doing breath holds for fun. And I'm not like running around trying to hold your breath, but learning to just be comfortable and happy in that state. And if you're happy in that state, then it's not a big deal. And then you're sort of working on it as a playtime. You're having fun with it in a safe place. I'm not saying go down and see how long you can stay at the bottom of a pool with a weight belt on. I'm not saying that at all. I don't want you to do that. You never do anything in a dangerous situation alone. I mean, even in the Navy SEALs, they'll have 3 people when they do breath work. They'll have a safety guy, they'll have a dive buddy, and they're doing these types of things. So it's not something you do alone, ever. So we're real clear on that. But it won't go away if you train it. But if it does go away when you're training it, it comes back quick. Because again, you teach yourself how to tolerate carbon dioxide, and your body will remember, like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that stuff doesn't bother me anymore. I can deal with this stuff. Too long of an answer. All right, what do you guys got? Give me more.
And something to add up to it. I think that when you start doing it at home, then you come to the pool. This is following up Nathaniel's question. Is like when you come back to the pool, you start doing it. Like say you do your underwaters, and then you make your 2 strokes, no breath. Every time you do a turn, you're kind of training again that capacity. Like you're going back to that capacity. So you're not gonna lose it if you start implementing that into your swimming. Make sense?
For me at least, it's like a lot harder to hold my breath in a pool than just like sitting around a house. So like, why is it like a lot harder? Or I don't know if that's normal, but
That's pretty normal. That's extremely normal. I mean, I know the answer to that. I'm wondering if someone else would throw the answer to that out. Maybe Javi or one of the older individuals here about why it's a lot harder in a pool setting during training or during competition. If someone else could grab that, that'd be awesome.
I'll say one is because your body is demanding oxygen. So right now your muscles are moving. So the main source of energy for your muscle to move is oxygen. So that's number one. Number two, you are under pressure. The water is an element that adds pressure to your body. So that's another element that I'll say doesn't help you to feel as comfortable with. But I think overall rule number one is you're actually moving. You're actually moving fast, and you're actually trying to move, doing a max effort, no breather, which is where it's pretty hard to do.
Does that make sense, Cassidy? Or was that Kayla?
Yeah.
Okay. What else you guys got? How about on those step training? What do you guys have questions wise on that? It made that much sense. I'm that good. All right. Well, let me jump in and hit you guys up with one more thing you can do. So this
Yeah,
is
let me ask you one more question.
yes.
So how can they translate that series of breath halting right into their swimming? That will be like what will be the next transition? You know, step number one will be do it at home and trying to figure out how last along on my breath holding, either by breathing or by listening to music. The second one is play on the backyard of your house, kind of walking around and trying to figure that out. Then the third one will be kind of do the sets that you're asking. And then number four, what will be that direct transition into your water performance? How do you see that? Like how do I do that?
The best way to do that is doing it at low heart rates during warm-ups, during warm downs, during easy things where you start to challenge yourself. You start finding what's next level. One of the things that I always find not hilarious, but a little bit frustrating and funny in my mind is when we'll be doing mid-pool turns. You know, so we'll do some out and ins. You know, hey, we're going to jump off the wall. We're going to race out 3 cycles, do a flip, race back, or something like that. And the number of people that even when they're doing an out and in and there's no wall and there's no streamline or any of those things right afterwards, they take a breath before they do a somersault. And the only reason they do that is because it's a habit. It's a habit of every time I do a flip turn, I have to breathe right beforehand. And so, you know, when you start developing the confidence that, hey, I can hold my breath for as long as I really need to. I can hold my breath the entire length of a 500 freestyle, which you can't do in a race, obviously. But you start being able to go into warm-ups and drill sets and easy things and just creating a whole new standard of what you do when you leave the wall. You don't have to leave the wall, you know, trying to be Caleb Dressel or Michael Phelps and just pound it out. But you just say, listen, when I leave the wall, I'm getting onto the 4th line when it's easy. When it's easy, I'm going to do that. And you'll start doing it because you're confident. And you have to tell yourself, you know, you can do this. You don't say I can do this. You say you can do this because you're talking to yourself. It's not self-talk. You're telling yourself you can do it. And you see, you're going to start doing this on all easy sets because I've been doing this training. You'll find that it's just a piece of cake and easy. Well, when you get to the hard sets, you know, what I would encourage is last wall. First wall is obvious. Everyone can be a hero on the first wall. But developing a last wall mindset where, you know, if you're doing a set of 3100s on 2 minutes, you know, 2 race, 1 easy, and you're just getting trashed because you're just tearing the body down. Wall 2 isn't going to be any good. You know, why? Because you're in the middle of a 45-minute set. You don't have to be underwater the whole time. Wall 3 may not, well, wall 3, yeah, so at the 70, at the 50, you know, so wall 1 would be your starting wall, wall 2 would be at the turn, when you come with that final wall, you gotta have the mindset that first wall and last wall are going to be race quality walls. And that's when you would plug in that song. That's when you would plug in that poem that you read to yourself, or whatever the saying is that takes 4.5, 5 seconds, maybe 7 seconds, depending how long you want to be under. But you make sure your last wall is your best wall. And you never accept anything except doing those things on your very last wall on every single rep. That's probably those 2 ways, doing things confidently and resetting your habits when you're going slow, and then creating a new habit when you're going fast. would be what I would recommend to translate it to swim. What do you guys got? Give me some more. I got one more thing I want to tell you guys for sure on the breath training for getting better at breathing or at holding your breath. You guys want to hear that right now, or do you want to ask some more questions, comments, thoughts, anything? Moving on. All right. So this next one you can do at a pinch. You know, you don't have a stopwatch. You're not going to be sitting there timing yourself all over the place. But let's say you're sitting in the car, not driving, you know, but you're just going for a ride. You're bored. You're at school. That'd be great if you guys are at school. But you're somewhere and you're really not focused on whatever's going on. You can do this next thing. As long as you're just a little bit relaxed, you can do this. You're breathing slowly, nice and comfortably through your nose. Just normal breathing. You're not sucking it all in and then blowing it all out. It's just normal tidal breathing. You're not filling the lungs. You're not emptying the lungs. Just breathing. And, you know, breathe from the diaphragm. If you don't know what that means, get a YouTube video and watch it. But it's breathing from your diaphragm is good. Also, if you can suck that belly out sometimes, that's good to kind of change your nervous system up, just because your body's not used to breathing that way. And it's like, hey, what's going on? And, you know, it's a good way to actually forget about it. If you're worried about something and you're a little stressed out, you can start doing different breathing exercises that jack up your nervous system because your lungs are operating a different way-ish. But I'm not getting into that, even though I just did. I'm moving on. So I'm breathing normal, breathing from the diaphragm, hopefully breathing through your nose, not your mouth. But what you do is you just you breathe normal, a normal inhale. So I'm just normal, not just normal inhale. I'm going to pause for 1 second. Pausing for 1 second here. And then I exhale, my normal exhale. When I finish my exhale, I stop and I hold for 10 seconds. I breathe in, hold for 1, breathe out, pause, 10 seconds. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Normal, 10 more seconds. And you repeat that. Just a normal inhale, 1 second pause, normal exhale, 10-second hold. Now what's going to happen is if you do that for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, your CO2 level is going to be here. It's going to build up. I don't care who you are, it will build up over time, and you will eventually not be able to do that anymore. You can do this type of training anytime you want. If you're just doing nothing and you want to do it, just do it. Don't let yourself, you know, get caught doing little 5-second holds and getting back in. When you can't do it anymore, that session's over. You finish that training session when you've crapped out and you can't do it anymore. That makes sense? Did I explain that well enough? What do you guys think? This is supposed to be a chance for you guys to be social and talk and interact. I feel like I'm doing all the talking. All right, sad face on me. All right, so that's breath holding. I'm not going to get into the other areas of breath holding, to breath work today. Honestly, I'd love to get someone else to come in and talk about some of the different areas of breath holding. So there's different types of breathing. There are different reasons for breathing. I mean, besides the obvious of being alive. But you can use breathing to help increase your range of motion, you know, hopefully with mobility. You can use breathing and types of breathing to boost your energy. So if you're tired, you can use breathing to wake yourself up. For those of you that hate warm-up pools, and for those of you that hate being in cold pools, at swim meets outside, you can use breathing to do a warm-up, a meet warm-up before a race, so that you don't have to get in the warm-up pool and sit there for a long time. Who did that at a meet recently? Was that you, Maya?
I think that might have been me. Yeah. So I didn't do breathing exercises really. I did more of a dry land.
I did that at sectionals before my 4 a.m. You told me to do that.
Okay. I think Maya, I had you doing that in Coronado, something in Coronado. And then
Yeah, I was doing that at WAG for the 100 free, I think.
Lucius, was it you?
Wait, that was me. Yeah.
You too? All right, so I got you 3. All right, I got you 3. So what did you think on, and I'm not going to go into the details on it, but was it nice? Did you like it?
I liked it.
You liked it?
I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, so you can do certain things to get your heart rate up, and that way you're not getting in and out and in and out and in and out of pools, and you're not burning energy. You're not using your muscles when maybe you've got 7 or 8 races that day. You're doing relays, you're doing prelims, you're doing finals. Sometimes you want to save some energy and not sit in the pool all day long. So you can do it for there's breathing that we can teach you guys for learning how to focus better. You got breathing that you can do to reset your nervous system. So if you're getting real nervous, you can and you can feel the jitters going kind of nuts on you. Certain breathings can sort of reset the way your body is responding to the stimulus that you're giving it or the stimulus that's around you, that can just kind of hit a reset button, bring you back to where you want to be. But I'm not going to get into that today. I'm definitely not the expert on all that. There's other people that I would love to have come in here and talk about those. I can talk about them, but if I can get someone else to, I'm going to do that. If you wanted to get into some of that on your own, you could check out, I'm going to give you guys a website. It's called powerspeedendurance.com. powerspeedendurance.com. That's all one word. And they've got an entire breath training protocols. They have a breath training app that you can use. I don't remember what the fee is, but it's something you can use, and it'll actually, you can go into trainings and different things like that for whatever you would want your breathing to be for. But I know that's available as well. I don't have much more. I kind of yapped on. Does anyone